So 8 years ago when I came, there was this idea of having a mobile clinic, and the diocese had established the St. Mary's Legacy Foundation with part of that goal to use that foundation to help start the mobile clinic, to fund the mobile clinic. There was an Office of Health Services that had been stood up as what I call now an incubator, ended up being an incubator for the mobile clinic. But otherwise, there was not much else. It was really starting from scratch. And then for myself, you mentioned as a religious, I was in temporary vows. I'd completed 1 year of temporary vows, so I was very much still young in religious life, and here given this task of trying to stand up a mobile clinic from scratch. It's really just a story, I think, of God's providence, of having to trust in Him, because I certainly brought a certain amount of talent and administrative experience to the job, but I had no clue how to start a mobile clinic. So He put the right people in my life, and provided when there were needs, and here we are, almost 8 years after I came. The mobile clinic's been going over 6.5 years now. It started in January 2014, seeing patients. So depends on what anniversary you like to count, but so it's at least been going for 6.5 years.
You mentioned the needs. Did you recognize the needs in this area right away?
Yes, that was pretty clear, both just from some people gave me some driving tours. I remember especially Kim Cook from Catholic Charities of East Tennessee. I believe she still works there. Sister Mary Christine was at Catholic Charities at the time, and so she connected me with Kim Cook, who's from Granger County. And so she gave me my first, driving tour of Granger County, and then some other folks contacted me from Granger County as well. Father Steve Pollock being one of them, and so that was, one of my first introductions to visibly the level of poverty that exists in the area. I mean, it's only 30 miles outside of Knoxville as the crow flies, and yet there's conditions that would mimic a third world in some ways. People with no running water at the time, people, having to fill up their water tanks from a spring, because they had no indoor plumbing, people still using outhouses, So it was really, kind of brought visibly home the level of poverty that exists in some of our rural areas still.
Do you think you've addressed some of the concerns you had when you came in and you toured the area with Kim and some other people and knew the challenge that might be ahead? How do you think you've managed to address some of those health issues that you've encountered?
Well, I think what we do best is treat each individual as an individual, created in the image and likeness of God. And so although our volume and our numbers may not be as high as some of the fixed clinics around the area, I think it's an individual outreach to individual people who are treated as individuals, and they know they're loved, and they know that they're have value, and that and that their healthcare needs are being met to the best of our abilities. We have limitations as a free clinic, a mobile clinic, of what we can provide, but I think it's been what I tell the volunteers. The most important part of what we do is we love our patients. Our Lord promised that whatever we do for the least of our brothers and sisters, we do for Him. And so we have the incredible privilege of going out every day that we're out on our site and meeting Christ, because in the eyes of society, our patients are the least. They're definitely the least. They're unemployed, poor literacy. They're, some of them are homeless, some are functional homeless, some are disabled, whatever it is. And that's caused them to seek care in a free clinic. And so they're the least, and so we get the chance to go out and meet Christ every time. I think that's the most important part of what we do. The medical care is important, obviously, but it's putting, and also, it's putting a face on the Catholic Church as well in an area that's not known for being Catholic, and many of our patients had never met a Catholic or knew what a Catholic was. So I think that's what we do. I mean, the medical care is important, and we do the best we can. And we've made, some inroads with individual patients with getting their disease states under control. And we've had some dramatic success stories that you've documented in the past. So, but I think it's the individual patient, one at a time, that individual relationship. That's where we excel.
Any final thoughts on? I mean, this 8-year, 6.5 in the field slice of your life, your overall life, and then your life in the religious order, will clearly leave some sort of imprint, whether you continue in medicine or do something else. I guess, how has it shaped you as a person and you as a sister in a religious order?
Well, I think, for me as a physician, it's been, I would call it the high point of my career as a physician. And as I said, it's, very much intermingled with the religious aspect, because now as a religious, in my former professional life, before I was a sister, I definitely, I still had a sense of the human person made in the image and likeness of God. But I think that aspect of the care for souls that I now have as a religious is heightened, and so that that aspect of providing medical care under the auspices of being a religious sister is definitely, I have a higher awareness, and as I said before, I think really just keeping in the forefront of our minds. It's not always easy. Some of our patients can be kind of difficult, but they do represent Christ. And it's an incredible privilege. And they've been, and most of our patients have been wonderful to work with. You get a few that are difficult, don't want to do what they're asked. Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes they're, don't like to keep their appointments, whatever it is. But I think, as what I told the volunteers, be faithful to the mission. Remember that you're going out to meet Christ whenever you go out, and I think that's been, for me, the highlight of the time, is just the deepening awareness of the privilege that it is to go out and be able to provide that service.